G'day, Lockie here. So I tweeted earlier about the vscode extension for Kubernetes, and I posted a video with that tweet, and it was from several months ago, and there seemed to be a lot of interest in taking a look and using the Kubernetes extension for vscode. So I thought I'd put together a really quick video on what it does today and what's there. Now first, I have vscode open here. What you want to do is actually go to extensions, type in Kubernetes. It should come up in the list here. Now in here you can see a whole bunch of information about the plugin, about the extension I should say, and it supports Draft, Helm, Kube Control, Docker and Git. So we can actually also see down here all the different commands it exposes. So I'll let you take a look at that at your own leisure. What you need to do is install it and then do a reload, and you should have access to it. You should see the Kubernetes icon down here on the left hand side. Now what I will say about this extension is it's a developer focus, so it's easy to introspect objects on a running Kubernetes cluster. It's not an operations tool by any means. So we can see a whole bunch of things here and how it's laid out. We can see Helm releases, config, services, workloads and nodes. So I could dive into here and see my namespaces. I could see my nodes. I could click on these and actually introspect some running information about those nodes. Workloads, so I can see deployments, jobs and pods, services, ingress, configuration. I could set it to use different namespaces if I wanted to, so it would switch the context there. I'm going to go back to default for now. One thing that's really interesting here is under configuration we actually have config maps. I don't have any in default, but I have the default secret. So you can see the secret here, and anybody who's worked with secrets, the data portion, the values are actually base 64 encoded, so it makes them a little bit complicated to work with. What you can do here is actually expand them, and I can see the ca.crt here. The value is base 64 encoded. I can actually get a decoded value right here in front of me, namespace and token, without doing anything, which I think is extremely valuable. And we can introspect Helm releases, which I don't have any Helm releases actually installed. So that's kind of the basic layout of it there. I will go back now, and I have a couple of different resource manifests here. I will go and open the deployment. Now one of the things that I've turned on, so in your command palette, if you type Kubernetes, you'll see all the commands that you have at your disposal here. You can use them there, or you can right click from the menu on the side. I've actually activated Kubernetes Explain. Now as you're writing manifests, what's really helpful here is that now you can hover over the different fields and see the different fields that are nested below them. Right, so I can actually see that in spec containers I have args as a map of strings there, a slice of strings. I can see exactly what I have to work with under here. So this is really useful as I'm writing things. I can take a look at different aspects of it and what the expectations are for the values of those different fields, which I find is extremely valuable. So I have a deployment here. What I'm going to go and do here is in the command palette, I'm going to go Kubernetes. I'm going to just do a create. So that has actually gone to create that right now. I haven't left my IDE. Plan not on using kube control on a command line here to show anything. We could go to workloads now. We could see the deployments. Right, and under the deployments we can see that we have a single pod. Right, and I can also introspect that. So I have a pod there. What else can we do? We could do a get. We wanted to. That would actually give me the output here without leaving the IDE. I could do a delete, a terminal, a debug, a port forward, describe, which I also think is extremely valuable. I've done a describe. Really easy just to grab there. Debug attach is wonderful. I don't have debugging for this app right now, but you can take a look at that. I have just exec'd into that, right, so we can actually see this running. That's a quick way to exec. We could do a port forward, so I could say, you know, I want 8080 to port 80 on that. I've just opened up the port forward. Right, extremely powerful and simple to have access to all these things. So I've pushed that deployment out. I could now just do this and do command palette diff We'll do a Kubernetes diff. So what's the difference here? I have added replicas equals 2. I could now go and apply that. So shall we do that? Yeah, let's go and do that. Let's do an apply. I'm going to go ahead and apply it. Right, well, we will just... Right, so I've applied that change right now. Fantastic. All that without leaving the IDE, so we have 2 of them. Now another thing we might want to do is actually run and expose. So let's go ahead and create... We've just exposed this service. So let's go here. We should see that here. Right? I will pop it up. We already have the selector here, which should match the deployment. Yep, matches the deployment. Fantastic. The other really neat thing is on label select I can actually match the pods under here, so I could see the pods as well. Other things I could do, I could show the logs, right? So that just exits. I could follow the logs. So have them there. Right now I'm actually following the logs of that pod. Fantastic. Okay, and we could go ahead and actually take this service now, and what we'll do is go ahead and delete it. Kubernetes delete. We'll just go and take a look at this. We want to delete that service. So for prompting, I just entered, and now if I refresh this, we should see PHP Apache is indeed gone. There are other little things like snippets. So I have a pod here. I could just type in pod. Oh, I should tab it. Right, so I've just created a pod spec easily, and I could say hello Lockie. So I have a pod. Let's go ahead and do service. I will create, it needs to be a YAML file, so I'll create a new file called Lockie.yaml, and then Lockie.yaml, I'll do a service. Again, I have snippets at my disposal, deployments there as well. Okay, go ahead and delete that. We'll move that out. So that is really the basis of everything. We could also do a Helm install, and I could introspect the releases as well here. I haven't actually done that. And if I had a Helm chart here, there are also the Helm commands. So it's interesting to go and take a look at what we've got. Follow logs, dashboard, debugs. We've got a whole bunch of things. Even start and stop Minikube. If we go to Helm, we have a similar set, and draft as well. Yeah, so that's really the VS Code extension for Kubernetes. The other really cool thing is if you want to go check it out here, the repository is linked. Right, so this will open it up. It's all open source. So if you have things that you would love to see, you can obviously go and contribute them upstream here. So that's all I had. I hope you really enjoy using this tool. I've been trying to use it a lot more just to not leave this workspace, and actually as I'm doing demos in front of folks, show them that I don't have to go to the command line all the time to grab things. It's also really great because it's laid out and I can logically go, what are the pods under this service, and let me follow a log and do all those types of things. So I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for tuning in. Cheers.